sometimes 4 times a week.
Well, I tell you, that's good exercise.
Oh, it definitely is.
I just haven't been able to move any. I mean, it's so frustrating. I don't do well with things, my brain just, it's like, but I got him, and that's the biggest blessing
Yeah,
I've ever had.
absolutely. Well, you've been a blessing for him too, I know. Work both ways, right?
Yes, it
Yeah,
does.
absolutely.
I try to be a good wife.
Wouldn't be worth it.
God bless you.
Let me know how you're doing.
All right, I sure will. But I'm hanging in there.
See, I didn't even know you had one.
Everyone can find the seats. Welcome to the December 15th council meeting. We were going to delay and not have this meeting, but we had some issues tonight we need to take care of tonight. So thank you for coming, and hope you all have a good holiday season. I want to welcome everyone. Roll call will reflect that all members of the Mayor and Council are present. We will have general comments at the end of the meeting, but if any action items that we have tonight, agenda items, if anyone has any comments on those, please feel free to ask your question or make a comment. Beatrice?
Yes, sir. I was looking at the ordinances for the billiard ordinance that's going to be coming on the agenda, and I was just wondering if someone could possibly explain what the significance of it is, number one. Number two, the code in section 2, it says the code of ordinances is hereby amended by inserting between existing definitions of artist and brewery the following text definitions in section 93-28-2. But when I went out on the ordinances on the website, it only goes to 27.
That's that particular arts district overlay hasn't been codified yet, so
Okay,
it won't be in Unicode.
It's not in the Unicode yet.
That's correct.
Okay. So I'm just trying to figure out, how we can do this without having reference to that. We don't have that.
It's there. It's just not on the Unicode yet.
Yeah.
Is it in the recently passed?
No, we are using Unicode to list our ordinances on there, so if they go to that front page, they're listed there. I'm not sure if that arts district has been.
We just passed it not too long ago.
Right, I'm not sure if it's been updated to the Unicode site yet, but if you want a copy of it, I can email you a copy.
Okay, so there's this is referencing
Yes,
that.
It is, yes.
So I'm just kind of wondering, how that ties in with that particular ordinance.
Who wants to explain the billiards?
We're going to have a full presentation,
Okay.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments on agenda item? We will move into our business. First item under new business is a discussion of take-home car policy for our police officers. As many of you may know, maintaining police officers these days is a challenge for folks, especially a small city like Hapeville. The city of Hapeville is a small operation. If I'm a young law enforcement officer, I'm going to have a career in law enforcement. Coming to work at Hapeville as a police officer, the career ladder is very short because we don't have all these various operations and departments and all that. We've got a pretty simple command structure. And other new cities that are coming online, Avondale and some of the other cities, Johns Creek, some of the other cities are offering just fantastic pay. Some of our officers that have been here as long as 10 years can go start at some of these new cities for what they can make it here after investing a decade here. So we needed to do something immediately to help sweeten our compensation package, and something that will not have a direct cash impact on the city was the allowing officers within a certain radius to take home. We currently allow officers that live in the city of Maple to take home a car, but we're expanding it out. So, Chief, you want to kind of summarize?
Mayor, I think you did very well. The other thing that's important to add is this does not include me, does not include my position, does not include my communications officers. They're also sworn in that capacity. It is just for the police officers it is in direct response to immediate. So, thank you.
Council, y'all have any questions?
The only question I have about it is, it's no big deal, is that then they're able to drive it to a second job.
I have a problem with that.
I have a problem with our police cars sitting in another business.
And like,
Absolutely.
If you'll notice, there is actually a compensation if the officer that had the vehicle were to use it. There would be a compensation offset that I added to it that would require them to pay the city. In fact, that would be a net positive to the city if they were to choose to do that.
But it would be them working a security related.
Correct, yes, sir.
They can only work in the city.
That is correct. They can only work inside the city limits of Hapeville. And honestly, it has always been a benefit. I've shared that with you before. But to recap the reason why, it's a benefit to us in our manpower allocation and our ability to respond to problems in the city. And but again, as far as the take-home car goes, it would not allow them to just go back and forth between a job here and their home. It would not, without them compensating the city.
So an officer, because they work 2 on, 3 off, or 1 on, 1 off?
It's actually a
12,
rotating
12,
schedule.
12.
Like they work a 12-hour shift, which on one week it's Monday, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The
Okay.
following week it's only Wednesday, Thursday. So the
Okay.
weeks rotate.
So if the officer has driven the car home and has a part-time job back in Hapeville, we'd be paying, would he have to pay to get back to Hapeville and back?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if he used the patrol car?
There and back for every mile from the house to here in Hapeville, back to their house.
Okay, and we're paying for the gas and all, they go to wherever Otter and fill up the cars,
Correct.
so we're paying for the gas for these take-home cars. And the other thing is on item G, it says passengers must be 18 and over. I don't see any reason there needs to be any passengers in a police car unless he's in the back under arrest.
Well, currently, as per our policy, we do allow a ride-along. And this is not intended to be a transport for any individual anywhere else. In fact, I'm pretty clear with the policy, we're not to use it for any personal use. But our current policy is we have a take-home car, we have a ride-along policy that does require a person to be 18 years or older because they can sign a waiver upon their own accord to limit liability or to waive the
So we'll
liability.
sometimes give courtesy rides to be true.
Absolutely.
And there's age cost.
Yes, absolutely. And there might be that occasion, I don't want to put an officer in a box where I'm having run them up for a violation of the policy. If, for instance, they have a stranded motorist situation on their way to or from their residence. But in those cases, they would have to have that individual sign, and it would have to be on that specific path. And in fact, I even go so far as to say, when they have an incident like that, they're to contact dispatch, and at that point, they're actually in service at that point.
I just don't want to see it to be like a transport, like, oh, the guy that's working in Hapeville lives next to me.
Absolutely.
We get to use the city car to go back and forth.
No, that would not be allowed. That would be what I would consider for personal use, and that would not be authorized.
And how many, at this point, does this apply to? How many will take advantage of this?
I'd say the majority.
Is that
That,
20, 50?
well, we are allocated for 28 sworn. We're not at that point right now. In fact, we're near that point right now. So it would probably be, right now, we're probably looking at, except the individuals that already take the car from the city, probably 6.
Okay, and so this is, you don't have to buy new cars.
No.
Some guy comes in and says, well, hey, where's my car?
No, absolutely not.
And let me see if there was anything else, the more than 72 consecutive hours, okay, then it has to be back in Hapeville,
Yes.
okay.
And then the 45 to 55 miles, is that round trip or one way?
That would be one way. One way. That would be one way.
So they could put 100 miles a day on a car.
Well, in theory, that would be the range, yes.
If they did, it would pay.
Right, and there is a compensation portion of that. If you look on the first page, under procedure 1 and 2, If the officer is living within 26 to 44 miles of the city, they would pay a cost of $50 per pay period to the city. So again, between 26 and 44 miles, $50 per pay period to the city on that. If they live 45 to 55 miles, they would pay $100 a pay period to the city. That's $2,600.
This is for all of the officers who live outside the city limits. So
Correct.
the minimum is gonna be they pay $50 or they're gonna pay $100.
Per pay period.
Per pay period.
And that is between 26 and 44 miles outside the city. So in theory, they could live up to 25 miles, and it would not require them to reimburse the city of
Okay.
costs. As it is with the officers who live in the city, there is no cost for them on that.
Any other questions?
They could drive all the way down to the first site. That's the 55-mile per way.
I don't currently have anybody staff that lives that far, but I do have a couple of individuals that live towards Carroll County. So I think we do have a couple that are in the 40 to 42-mile range. And I think I sent a copy of the sheet that we require them to sign. They have to fill it out themselves and do a map of where they actually live, and not only their address, but how many miles they live from the city. We're going to verify all those and make sure that is
And do they keep a mileage log
They
in
do.
the car?
We
Okay.
already keep a mileage log of the vehicles, so that would just continue, it would be a backup support document.
Have you met with them, and do the officers feel like this is a significant incentive that
Yes.
would help deter what we're having? Because I know the cost of losing someone is huge compared to what we're talking about here.
Absolutely. Well, this is not a snap decision. This is not anything that we're just, I mean, we are in a situation where I feel we need to react, but this is actually something, I had a proposal even back with Bill Warner.
We've talked about it several times on our
And even beyond that.
Yeah.
So this is really, I think the timing is very important on this, because that is a reoccurring sentiment from officers. Take-home cars are a big deal. We've actually lost officers to agencies where they're not making any more money, but
But they get to take
home.
over.
It's
So
just
it's a
huge
fairly common practice.
pride issue. I mean, it is a level of compensation. What we typically look at in these, the standard is about $2,800 annually that we consider with maintenance, fuel, and all those things. So that's really the level of compensation, which, of course, every officer that takes in that option, they'll have to, do their taxes accordingly, and that'll be an added income actually to their.
So we'll 1099 them?
And we've got to work through those issues. Jennifer, William and I had a conversation about that, but yeah, that's exactly what we said.
We will follow all the IRS regulations.
Yeah, because it is a requirement that that's to be treated as income.
But if you look at the cost benefit analysis, as Brandon was pointing out, $2,800 compared to over $25,000 in training reimbursement is a kind of it's a win for the city.
So if they're in a city car, they're driving to work or home from work, and they get into an accident, and they get hurt, is that workman's comp, or is that their insurance?
It would be, actually.
It would be workman's comp.
It does put a level of liability on us. That's why I'm very clear about what they can and can't do with the vehicle. But yes, when we're in the vehicle, it will be a workers' compensation issue. As it would, when they're on 12-hour watches.
Yeah.
And the
But they're
same-
driving a personal car to and from.
Exactly. Yes, that's true.
But
And
that's
true
true for those that live in the city now already, though.
Right. And I do understand and recognize that, when we open that up and they're driving longer, there is that level of liability, and I can assure you, I will pay attention closely, and will mitigate any reasonable liability exposure.
Any other questions for Chief? Is anyone prepared to make a motion on this item?
They have to, they don't have a word. What you got here?
Talk about adoption of take-home car policy, I guess would be.
2015.
I'm gonna have that one.
Well, it's dated 12/2.
That's my draft.
Yes. So you could just say authorize, motion to approve. Motion to approve policy dated 12/2.
All right, motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second discussion.
I'd like to see a follow-up on how, if this helps keep retain an officer, you know, to see how that plays out actually in the retaining officer.
I concur. It's
6 months?
it's something that should certainly help, because it's something other agencies are doing. It's a fairly common.
I don't have a problem with it, like I said, as long as they wasn't working a second job, parking our car somewhere else, that's.
But the
And
fact
they
they
can
have to
only
work in the city,
city.
that mitigates that concern. All right, further discussion?
Do we do exit interviews? Exit interviews? I was wondering
Yes.
if that's something as officers
We're going
leave.
to talk further in
Okay.
some
That's why.
executive sessions about it.
Okay.
All right, any further discussion? There being none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign, the motion carries. Next item is, we have the first reading of ordinance 2015-19. This is the billiards ordinance that was mentioned earlier. So, Lee, you said we were going to have a presentation on that.
Yes, sir. It has come to our attention on an economic development project that there's a constraint for a particular operation to move to the city. And one of the constraints is the number of billiard tables allowed. Apparently, our current ordinance says if there's more than one billiard table, it's classified as a pool hall. Or one or more, it's prohibited. So asked Bill to work with the city attorney's office with the draft authority for first reading. And I'd like for Bill to walk you through the ordinance and let you know what we're proposing to remedy that situation.
Yeah, you turn around. It's on.
This is a mayor and council initiated revision to the business license code and a text amendment to the zoning ordinance, specifically the arts district overlay. One intent is to harmonize our code as to billiard halls with state law. And one's exactly right. Currently, billiard hall or parlor is defined as any establishment having one or more pool tables. The intent of this ordinance is to allow establishments having 5 or fewer pool tables within the arts district overlay only. If you had a business that had even one table outside of that overlay, it would be prohibited. I don't know if you need to see the map of the arts district overlay.
I'll keep you up.
Thanks. Currently, billiard halls are prohibited in the downtown development zone, the village zone, the urban village zone, but not specifically prohibited in the commercial, residential, or the C2 zone, which are involved with the arts district overlay.
So if you're in C2, then you could have billiard halls? Is that what you're saying?
Within the
Within the arts district?
you couldn't have billiard halls. We're defining billiard halls as up to 5. 5 or fewer. So if it's 6, that's prohibited because that's a billiard hall. So you can have an establishment that has 5 or fewer. What I found in working with Destiny was that you don't really have to have a restaurant to have a billiard hall. You could have a building with 5 tables, and that will be allowed. If you want to serve alcohol, then you have to also be a restaurant.
Go ahead.
I think I've covered everything, at least in my notes.
Yeah. One of my questions is, says, charge for use of equipment.
Right,
So, So if I had a store and I just charged to get in, a cover charge, but it was free to play billiards, would that be a way around of?
I'd like Steve to chime in, but I don't think it would be. I think you got to put your quarter or your dollar these days in the table to play on that table, but
I'm just saying, could we have, like, let's say a business owner just wants to have it free, it's just something that our business has that
Are
others
they
don't.
regulated, is that the point? There's a cover charge?
I don't know, I'm just making sure that,
What section are you talking
If
about?
I could have gaming
The
machines already
definition
by the state
is
Department of Revenue.
billiard room means any place where it is permitted and for which a charge is made for use of equipment.
Maybe I changed the old big system of state law. That's the definition of state law.
correct, yeah, we did not have a provision that you must charge, but they do, and that's what we're proposing, that there be a charge. And I don't think a cover charge, I don't think that's it. I think you just have to pay to use that table.
So that if the establishment had billiard tables and didn't have the charge of the device to pay, they would have to have that, right?
No, there's one McDonough that's for teenagers, as far as I can see, and you pay by the hour. So you get a table for, you pay by the hour. I don't even know how many places there are where you stick quarters in anymore.
There are a few. There are a few. I'm good at that. That's not
We call them beer joints, and yeah, they did put quarters in.
But they used to have some in the corner up there years ago. It was a pool hall, I call it a pool.
Well, there was one up on where, yeah, Full Theater, where the Full Theater building, which is what prompted this billiard hall was to begin with.
Yeah.
You go back to the sixties, you got Babe's Q Room where Freeman, equipment. Where that Walt Freeman's place is, was Babe's Q Room.
Okay.
Oh, and then there's that's my paper right when I was 9.
Did you play pool?
No.
So here's the Arts District overlay map. I don't know if there's any questions about that. It's generally north and south central, up Tulane, Virginia, up Dogwood.
Tulane, Virginia. That's what I call it, Little Virginia.
Yeah.
It looks kind of like an AK-47.
Basically, the definition you currently have in code holds unless the operation would fall within the rating period.
can we limit it
That's what
by
That's what we're doing.
population? Say you can only have one per 10,000 residents?
Never seen anybody try that before. Maybe we could get away with it.
That way, we all, it wouldn't be the law of unintended consequences. We would just have that one that could come in.
Isn't that in our adult
Yes, it is.
entertainment?
It does.
This is not adult.
No, but I mean, but that provision of one for 10,000 residents, so if you got another one, once we got 11,000.
You don't think that looks a little bit like the opposite of targeting? We
Yeah.
got one guy we like, so we're gonna make it where he can get in and nobody else. I think that's a dangerous place to stay.
I was gonna ask about that equal protection issue. What kind of, are we opening ourselves up to any equal protection? By kind of, like Michael said, squeezing this in to satisfy a particular,
Well, I'm not saying you could never get to that position, but I don't think you're there yet.
Well, we hadn't squeezed out anybody actually.
right.
Except up in this district.
We feel staff feels comfortable with this.
Right, because it's a use
If
to.
you add
to the
more
zone.
to it,
Right,
and,
right.
you know.
And of course, if they wanted to serve alcohol, then they would have to be a restaurant.
That's correct. Which is your catch. So that's your hook.
Right.
Because you're not gonna make any money just having a quote unquote billiard establishment.
You could have, theoretically, you could have somebody open up a room with 5 pool tables, not serve alcoholic beverages.
Is that economically
The
viable?
economics of it.
Probably not.
I'll let you know when I put it in the cafe.
Play a lot.
Oh, you're gonna try it in the cafe? Good luck. I don't think it's big enough.
Well, I know, use the little mini
Many
tables.
tables,
Make sandwiches on it during the day.
Sure.
Mayor, if I could just ask,
Yes.
potential there, Just one clarifications, in those zoning districts like Urban Village where billiard halls are prohibited, they're prohibited right now.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions, council? Comments, concerns? All right. Well, there be, well, in that case, that will stand as first reading, so this will pass in January.
Yeah, this would be the first reading, and then we would have to go through the whole public hearing and second readings and all of that stuff in January. Advertised and all that.
So when is the public?
We would just have to start advertise plan. We would have to advertise, figure out the advertising date and tie it to the meeting date. See if we get it all full. Probably the
As it says in
19th.
zoning, yeah,
Probably the 19th or the first meeting in February, sorry.
because this is the zoning change.
I like it. Very festive.
All right.
Okay, so we'll basically schedule this for, we'll figure out the advertising period and schedule it for the first available meeting either in January or early February.
One thing I wasn't clear on, Josh, is your question, were you talking about cover charge, or was there a concern we need to be thinking of?
I was just, my concern was, because it said charging for the equipment. So if I just said, hey, I'm not charging for this equipment, it's free, can you have 30? And so that was my question.
We're limited to 5, but do they have to charge if
If
they
they-
will provide free use? I mean, is it required to charge? I'm just curious.
So as long as they don't charge, they can have as many as they want? Is that how this is?
It's limited
It's
time.
limited to 5.
I mean,
Takes a good bit of space.
yeah, will be
I
like.
think that that's an interesting question.
But it says,
Let me explore it. Let me explore it. I'm prepared to respond to that.
okay, I just,
That is an interesting point.
yeah, I didn't know.
So it's using the state definition, but I mean, now it's the same issue you have, what the specific charge would take.
Yeah, the kids, it's free, it says charge on here. We're not charging.
I'll
Okay.
figure that out and solve that.
Thank you.
All right. Next item we have is consideration and action to waive first reading of ordinance 2015-20. This is the budget amendment. The attached budget amendment is to correct some minor scrivener errors on the final, on the budget amendment recently passed by council related to last year's budget, FYI, fiscal year 2014-15. Adopting this cleanup amendment will bring our audit findings in line with all budget information. So is anyone prepared to waive, make a motion to waive first reading?
I don't know what a Scribner.
It's a typographical error.
Yeah, different.
There was an old man that used to sit there and
That's
write
right.
what
That's
people
right.
said.
Okay, so this was some,
The auditors brought forward some misclassification in June. You know, they were trying to align that, the audit results with the actual amendments.
Just moving
passed. And
money
so
around.
it's not moving around those items that got misclassified.
an auditor's comment.
Yes.
We're moving the classification to a more universal, right? From what I understood, so that it,
That's what Jim informs me. He had a medical procedure this evening or something.
Okay, so we're at the waive first reading part now. Is anyone prepared to make a motion to waive first reading?
I'll move to waive first reading.
Motion to waive first reading, is there a second?
Second.
Second discussion. All right, all in favor of waiving first reading, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign, motion carries. Now we're up for action, so I'll entertain a motion for action on, ordinance 2015-20, budget ordinance amendment.
This really didn't change any of the basic figures, it just moved the money from where it had been misplaced to the correct.
Yes. It's recategorization of the same money.
Correct. It's different categories that apparently got misplaced.
Yeah. We don't have a motion on the floor yet, any more prepared to make a motion on that?
I'll move we
Motion.
accept,
Motion to adopt.
motion to adopt.
Okay, motion to adopt, is there a second? Second, discussion. We're back to discussion.
William, I, one staff meeting, and I think this subject was being covered, and I thought Jim was saying that what they were trying to do is line up state categories with stuff so that, you know, everybody understands, we're all calling everything the right thing.
Right, state chart accounts, there's a synchronization effort that's occurring. And in fact, he is working on a new, what he calls a walkover chart, that basically takes the state chart accounts and the definitions there, and ties it specifically to line items within the city of Hapeville's budget. So that we're all calling apples, apples, and all calling pears, pears. Over the years, certain practices and customs of the staff may not necessarily have lined up with the state charter accounts. And so we're trying to get those things in line so that and why is that important? Well, it's important because in future years, when you do comparative analysis, you have everything that's equal to each other, categorized properly.
So it's not just saying that parks and grounds spent $190,000 too much. It's that it was just put in the wrong place. Is that?
It may have been called one thing when it really, by the state chart accounts, should have gone into a different bucket or pot or category.
Well, it looks to me like we are, this transfer to from, this 295,000 is coming from something called other financing uses. Does that mean, is that a general ledger account, other financing uses, or, I mean, I'd be interested to know, is this from some other general ledger account that it goes from to, other than
That would be a
the
question.
big
That'd be a
pool
general
of
question.
other
That'd be a future
financing
question.
uses?
That'd be a Jim question, but he assured me, because I asked him multiple times, he said this was something the auditor caught and that they talked about, and it got missed when they passed the last budget amendment, the last one.
So you would see that we would get detail on that if we wanted it?
Yes.
I would want it, so.
Yeah, I would too.
When he gets back from his procedure.
Yes.
All right, further discussion?
Well, I mean, do you need to know that before we go?
No.
And when stuff like this is brought up, how will we get that information, not only to us, but to those that are listening and concerned? I mean, that it's on the website, or what can we do to answer this so that it's out there?
I'll just write a memo to
This is on the website, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh,
we
the
got-
packet's on the website.
Yeah, all we gotta do is make.
And William will send out his manager's memo within a few days, and that'll be an action item, and he'll assign Jim to follow back up and answer the question.
Yeah, and put a memo out.
And put a memo out
To the
reflect
website.
Well, along that line, so like the question that Beatrice had, it's come up this month and last month where there's something that's not quite out there yet that we're working with. Can we at least have copies of it here at council for the audience and us on things that haven't been clarified yet so that people can look at what we're talking about?
Yes, the whole issue with the Unicode is something that there's a lag
Yeah,
in the
there
system.
is a lag.
And what happens is council takes action on something, and then it takes a month or two to roll through to Unicode. And in the meantime, you know, we just need to take a look at how we can maybe.
Well, I understand the lag, but to cover,
Especially.
I don't want to make it look like we're doing something behind smoke and mirrors and then we'll see it in 2 months. If we're taking an action on something, is there a way, even if it's not on Unicode, to produce something that people can look at and see and compare? We're talking about something that, you know what I'm saying?
Copies of the ordinances available here, and they're online attached to the packet.
Yeah, but some things aren't there yet and we're discussing, so I would just want things to be more transparent.
Like the
If we're
thing
talking
that
about something, I want
said
people to be able to look at it.
Well,
Is that possible?
I'll remind council that we normally get our packet on Friday. And so if you have a chance to review your packet over the weekend, those are questions that can be asked, and you could, in case staff misses it, you can always say, hey, how about bringing a copy of this arts overlay? I mean, I wasn't
Well, I won't
aware.
always know if it's on.
Well, I understand,
Unicode.
but I wasn't aware that the arts overlay wasn't out there yet. Or are we?
To your point, understand this, we're going through a process with IT, the new IT contractor. And one of the action items is to improve our transparency and to update. We need to do a redo on our website. I mean, it's good, but it's not great. And there are certain best practices I would like to have addressed. For example, I would like there to be almost a live Q&A section on the website where a citizen, if they're just wondering about something, they can just, I was wondering about this, and ask the question. All right, well then, some of us could check in and answer that question. So, you know, that's where we're going. It's just a process to get there, and I apologize about, you know, we're just as frustrated over certain technology problems as everybody else. But we are working on it, and it is on the to-do list, and it's one of those things that we're moving towards. So.
Well, where I'm always coming from is not to be critical, but look for a solution. And so I'm thinking if there's this lag time and we're voting on something or discussing something that they can't pull up, then let's have copies or have it on screens. Let's whatever we
It's a
can
pretty
do.
rare, it's a pretty rare occurrence.
It is, but it's happened too much in a row.
Well,
So I just thought if we
the
could
packets,
help
the packets, the problem is we can update it and it'll be in the packet. The problem is Unicode isn't picking that stuff up and moving forward fast enough. So we need to talk to Unicode and see what we can do to expedite that process.
Well, if you could just check on that, and let's, I mean, I think it's important,
It is,
legitimate,
it
and we're
is.
voting on stuff, and I feel like people are.
They need to know what we're talking about.
So, I think it's important.
Yep.
We're still in discussion on 2016-20 budget amendment.
What was that about? Oh, the slush fund that Jim's been telling us about?
All right, is there any further discussion?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign, motion carries.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, just to clarify, thank you, Bill. So I will send this detailed memo out, council, explaining everything, and I'll post it to the web as best we can.
Or Jennifer can make it a part of the minutes.
Yes.
All right, council, comments? Council comments, Ms. Clark, Sidney?
Don't we have a beautiful fountain next to City Hall? I talked to Lee and I said I thought it was beautiful, and he is going to check to see if we can maybe get some potted trees behind the arch where if someone wants to sit down in August when those days are really, really hot, they might have some shade. So I think it's a beautiful thing, and I appreciate their hard work. And I did notice, and when we did talk about the you know, the laser beam lights that we have that kind of block out the Christmas decorations. And we are coming up with some suggestions on that too.
Sure.
Laser beam lights.
We haven't got any plans, we haven't got any plans on the airport.
But 747 trying to land on.
Lee, on that
South
same,
Central.
Missed the runway.
on that same note, in the area where we did have the concentration of street lamps, we talked to George Power about removing the overheads because it's just light clutter.
Yeah, they're actually, did.
And when are they doing the LEDs, by the way?
End of January, I sat down with them, talked with them, finally I said, you gotta get us a bid,
Yeah.
in the fall.
Because they've done everywhere around.
Right, they're scheduled for the end of January, to change up all lights to LEDs.
The whole city?
Whole city.
I've asked
So, it'll be a lot
Lee.
brighter.
Yeah.
I've asked Lee to come forward with a presentation in January on the candlefoot issues and all of that kind of stuff, and we'll work with you to tweak it, and, you know, we're gonna bring forward a whole presentation on this stuff, so we can talk about it.
Yeah, the lights we're using right now are Georgia Power's using, is sort of a yellow light.
It's the high pressure
Yeah,
sodium.
we've had one new LED installed on North Whitney, if you want to go out and look at it, and it's whiter light.
The LEDs are much brighter.
Much brighter, and we do get a lot of complaints, so it's too dark, it's too dark.
Yeah, the LED.
Complaining for being too bright.
From a police perspective, it's much more better for the white light.
Well, there is such a thing, y'all may not have heard of this, of light pollution. And we are going to be a class A1 example of that if the mercury vapor or sodium vapor, whatever, get replaced with those other
The
high
LEDs,
beams.
yeah.
And I just it does render it more like a globe than, as I said, a runway, but are they not going to produce LED lights that are of a warmer, friendlier tone, or is it everything gonna be?
Right now, they're pretty bright.
They're bright.
Right now, it's the white light.
They're bright.
Yeah.
But it's needed, I mean, it really is. If you go down some of our streets, it's really
You'll
good.
do have some dark pockets.
And it's pretty expensive to start adding lights to each pole.
I would like to take out the poles on Central Avenue and put them in those places.
It's all the
And
money.
keep the ones that we have that have worked perfectly good for a number
Even
of
if you go
years.
down Virginia Avenue, in some spots where we have both, it's still dark, even with the lamps and the overhead. So it's
I'll
much
ride around, I
light-
wanna see where that dark place
as
is.
much as light as you can get.
We're gonna run a light meter and we're gonna come back with the data and we're gonna show you what we're talking about.
And I think with these new lights, instead of it being like hanging down, so it floods the whole area, when I see the LEDs, they sort of cut. So it doesn't extrude lights to the side, it's just like straight down.
It's called shields, shade.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that it's like shields and everything to put on.
Yeah.
So it's the light shines.
Slim Shady. Yeah, Slim Shady. Please stand up. Do we pay per light, the city does?
Yes.
So with the new LED lights, will the cost go down?
No, the cost will go up. It's gonna be about,
It's a lose-lose.
it'll be about
It'll go up
$60 a
until
month.
you get the capital part paid, and then over time, the bill will come down because of less.
Okay, so we basically are paying over a long
She
time.
wanted to get them off Central Avenue years ago.
Is probably what it's gonna come out.
What do we pay now?
Well, it's gonna be 60 more than whatever we're paying now.
Oh, 60 more, okay.
But you also gotta look at too,
I like
these LEDs, when you put them in, we're not gonna be running out flagging poles all the time
Mhm.
because they're going out,
Yeah.
which we have a huge problem with.
Yeah, they don't go out as.
You know,
I
got
switched my whole house to LED.
Same way with our
I'm
traffic.
The second
signal
one on my
lights.
porch light is going out. Not happy
They don't like what they're saying.
$10 a month.
Like 20,000
Black Friday, they're
hours.
99
Really?
cents. It blows.
They like
LED.
LED, 99 cents. Come to, yes, Powell bill, and I'll get some too for $5.
All right, Ann?
Thank y'all for coming out. It's good to see each and every one of you. I hope you have a Merry Christmas. I didn't say Merry Christmas. Happy Hanukkah and Happy Kwanzaa. Whatever you celebrate, I hope you have. a
Whatever you
happy-
celebrate,
And this is supposed to be my last meeting. Thank you for supporting me for 8 years. And I'll be sitting out there.
We ain't done with you yet.
Once you come back in January 5th.
You have to come back January 5th.
I'll be back.
We've got your Lincoln Continental.
Is it this big or is it big enough to
I
stand?
can't tell you yet.
You can drive it back and forth to work.
But we'll see you on January
You know, it's
5th.
like a little portion they gave us at the portion thing. Couldn't eat nothing.
I have a comment I made about that, but I kind of won't share it.
We can make
But anyway, it's been a pleasure to serve. It's been my privilege. It's been my honor to serve the public. And I did my very best, and I appreciate your support.
And we'll see you January 5th.
God willing.
Yes. Mike?
Just want to say congratulations to Ann. 8 years is a long time.
I'm
Many
kind of
years
looking
of
forward to
service.
sitting out there.
Yeah.
Many years of service.
So watch out, Ruth. I'm gonna be sitting out there.
You're not gonna do it, you know, to do it all the time you got now.
I'll bet you I can find something.
I'm sure you can.
I was talking to Ann the other day, and, you know, Ann's battled some pretty major health problems, most of which would drag. I had the flu, and I whined about it for a month, okay? Ann's on her 3rd round of chemo, so it helps you put things in perspective. And I told Ann the other day at the employee luncheon that I admire the grace and the tenacity with which she's handled this, her health issue. And I think it's remarkable that she's set up.
God's grace. It's God's grace and mercy.
Congratulations on your service, and we ain't done with her yet.
I know we'll have another call meeting or something.
Yeah. She was busy before she came on council.
Yes, I
She'll be
was,
busy
I
when
was.
she-
Yeah, and I'm
when she's
looking
up.
forward to doing things that I enjoy doing and,
Amen.
but I
Thanks a
didn't
lot.
enjoy this.
Thanks a lot. many ways to serve. And with that being said, I hope y'all do have a wonderful holiday season. I'll say the same thing, Happy Hanukkah, Merry Christmas. Whatever you celebrate it well and enjoy it. And remember what's really important in life, and that's our family and our friends and the relationships that we have as human beings. So thank you, God bless you all, and I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
No, public comment.
Public comment.
Fire, yeah, I forgot about public comment. Public comment. Carter. I apologize about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll have to reset.
So I have to admit, I live in Hapeville, or?
Yeah, you have to admit it.
Yes, I live in Hapeville. All right. Just had a question, primarily, I don't know if it's for Chief Vavachik or everyone, regarding the idea of officers. I talked to a lot of guys who worked there before, and they leave Hapeville because of the monetary issues, obviously. But the idea of the transportation of vehicles being able to use to go back and forth 45, 55 miles, I believe, within a particular range. And I just wondered about something in terms of, like, it should be a real concern not only for officers or safety, but also for the ride-alongs in terms of consequences and liability issues. In other words, things happen when we get out in traffic. We don't intend for accidents or anything else to happen. Officers also drive into things drive into officers and other people. If that should happen, what kinds of protections would the city of Hapeville have from lawsuits if the officer, in fact, is at fault?
Well, I guess if I could address that.
Yes.
But we have insurance for that. I mean, it does happen, as you can imagine, it turns out. In fact, we're a 24-hour, 7-day-a-week operation, so we have officers in cars every minute, every day. So with that, there comes some liability in that regard. But to specifically address your point about the ride-alongs, again, that is not anything that's authorized outside the city. They're not authorized to do anything personal. They're not carpool. There's no authorization of them being allowed to do that. The only case there would be, as I mentioned earlier, would be the case of stranded motorists and those sort of issues. And they know, based on our policy, that their typical rule is to stand by, wait for the local jurisdiction or someone else to get there to help them. It's only in extreme cases that they would even do that. So really, this is more of a duty on behalf of the officer, because we are statutorily, we're held to a standard that requires our service in that regard. But to your point, yes, certainly there is an additional liability exposure that we're opening up here in this, but I can assure you, as I've assured the council, and I'm going to pay attention to this very carefully, very closely, as I have and do even in our daily operations, to try to mitigate any potential exposure. But in the event that it did happen, we are insured through workers' compensation, as well as automotive insurance and even law insurance. So,
And that means the distance from the city to wherever they're going.
yes, sir, that's correct.
Just want to make certain of that.
Absolutely.
And then any ride-along would have to sign that waiver, which helps
I know, we
mitigate.
talked to them.
That helps mitigate.
All right.
the
Thank you.
liability.
I just wanted to ask, do you have a safety program in place?
Pardon me?
Do you have a safety program?
Safety program, absolutely. Are you referring specifically for the officers in their?
Yeah, you know,
Yes.
see, for instance, a safety incentive, basically called a safety incentive program. We have one where I work, and so it's based on, you have 0 accidents or whatever, there's a,
Jennifer can speak to that, I think.
and then the department, if the department as a whole, you know, meets that goal of 0, whatever, then there's there's a monetary incentive for the department that can, and that's something that might be.
From our part, let me clarify. I said yes to your initial question because we have training specific to officers, but as far as an incentive that you're referring to, we do not currently have that, and that's where Jennifer might, we have a safety committee that actually does address issues like that, and that would be where Jennifer.
We currently don't incentivize that way, but that is something for us to think about.
It's a very effective program. We've worked on goal of 100%, it's like 0 accidents, and the department actually gets an incentive bonus, and it's worked because we've got, people are really very diligent about, not only travel accidents, but accidents at work, everything. So I think it's a really good, if you have a program like that, I think that would mitigate a lot of the, concerns about,
Yeah, we have the safety committee, we just asked the judge, said we don't have the economic consideration.
Okay.
Like it's cut, it's Mike.
Mike Murphy, my question pertains to the proposed billiard ordinance. And it's titled billiards, but I'm assuming that's a catch-all, meaning pool tables, billiard tables, coin-operated pool tables, because they're different. It includes everything.
No, it doesn't. I mean, it includes what you would consider to be
And then
a
the
pool
pool,
table.
yes. The ones that are coin-operated are normally smaller, you find those in bars. And
Would include those.
legitimate billiard tables are very large.
That's,
But they would all be covered here. 5 would include any type of,
It defines billiard as any of the several games played on a table surrounded by an elastic ledge of cushions with balls which are impelled by a cue. It shall include all forms of the game known as carom, C-A-R-O-M, billiards, pocket billiards, or English
okay.
billiards.
I knew that was in the old ordinance.
Yeah.
Also in that other the ordinance you're reading, it said that they had to have an attendant present. Is that going to be in the new portion?
Don't think so.
You didn't carry that over? Because I know in the case of the Corner Tavern, which I think predicated most of this, he has an attendant, because they rent the tables by the hour. They're not coin-operated machine. And there's an attendant present anytime there are people playing those tables.
I don't think we've gone that far in this one.
Don't you think he did that for himself though, because
Yeah.
he's not doing coin operated?
Well, he does
Well,
billiards.
But if he comes,
True
that's what he's
billiards.
gonna do again. They were billiard, he had legitimate pool tables. But it's to preclude gambling and loitering and all that stuff. But it was in our ordinance, the one that you're reading, I believe.
The attendant,
Yeah.
because
Has to have
Yeah.
an attendant.
For that number of tables. And look into it, Amy. I'd appreciate it.
thank you.
Laura?
On that note, Laura Murphy, 201 Colorado. Now, do I understand you to say that as our ordinance reads right now, no pool tables are allowed at all anywhere?
I don't think that's the case.
Well,
What about existing, maybe?
well, I'm just asking because for a minute there he said
In the
one
UV.
or more, or so.
Definition,
CR
as it
C2
currently exists, will not change, and there are grandfathered situations.
Okay,
The
CR
current
and
definition
C2.
does not change.
But not UV or V or anything. So what we have right now, basically, is people with pool tables that aren't supposed to have pool tables.
Then we have grandfathered situations, as I understand.
But the zoning didn't change on that.
Well, if you want me to go shut down the Irish Bread Pub, I guess we could.
Well, or if he's not supposed to have his pool tables, then, I mean, you gotta go across the board.
Well,
Now, my next
it
question-
existed when I got here.
Yeah.
Right, but that's been UV. I know it's existed, but just because it existed doesn't mean that it's legal. So you have to be legal across the board.
Let's check in, let's do a little more research into that. Steve, will you make a note to?
If you'll note,
Let's look into
Steve,
that.
on 2013-07, you guys passed an ordinance on amusement machines. So if you'll read that, that might help you, and then you will find there too that you're supposed to have an attendant. The other question I have is are these 5 billiard pool tables, whatever they are, going to be used in the 25% of the standing room, waiting room, whatever, of the 75% seated, 25%
I
additional?
think they're building a separate area. Is that
Okay.
correct, David, for the billiard?
I don't think he has it totally planned out.
Okay, because in the ordinance, it has to be in full
We
view.
understand.
Can't have closed doors or things. But what you need to define is whether it's going to be part of the 25%. So say, for example, you got a 5,000 square foot restaurant, 1,000 is bathrooms and kitchen, that leaves you 4,000. 3,000 has to be seating, that leaves 1,000 for miscellaneous stand-arounds, bar with stools and or billiard or pool tables. I just wanted to be clear how you're going to do it, because if you have a 75-25 rule, and then you start adding this and adding that and overlaying this and who's got what and what's got where, is it going to be part of that?
said he wouldn't need more than 25% of the space. I don't know about the separation.
Okay, well, that's,
It'll meet the fire code.
He would have to govern himself accordingly to
It'll
the rest
meet
of the
the fire
regulations, so.
and in your 2013-07 under amusements, all machines are supposed to be registered within the city. Any machine,
They- all that's
coin-operated
registered
machine,
in states.
are they?
Yes.
Has anybody gone to check to see if,
State requirement.
so, tables that maybe aren't allowed haven't been checked? Well, I mean, it's just something to think about.
I can't answer that.
And then who gives the information to Municode to have it posted?
City clerk.
Okay. And how much per light? You said $60 per light, Lee, on the LEDs? It's per light
No, it's $60 total.
for the whole city?
Added on.
Right, for the whole city per month.
Okay. So then my question back to the pool tables, the CR and the C2 were allowed. So most of those businesses weren't even around when C2 was in existence. That's been gone for years. CR, the only CR that I know of that's possibly left is on King. There's a little CR on the other side across from the laundromat, I think. That's all that's basically left on that. So everybody else, I would just want to make sure that we're fair.
Please.
Sure.
So billiard rooms are allowed except that they're prohibited. They're currently prohibited in
UV.
the arts overlay district. They're prohibited in the arts overlay district. So they're amending the arts overlay district to allow pool tables up to 5.
Right.
But you can have pool tables all over the city.
In a restaurant
You can have pool
with
tables
liquor.
yeah.
Okay, so you can have them anywhere as long as they don't go
Well,
over the.
anywhere except where they're prohibited. Some are prohibited in UV. I don't know, they may be prohibited in other.
They're prohibited in V also.
But I think they were there before the zone, but where they are now, I think they were there before the zone got changed.
Correct, that's my understanding.
But I don't have all the dates in front of me, so.
Okay. But I don't think they were. I think you guys got rid of them. We
Again,
got
I
rid
don't
of
have
them
all the
long-
dates in front of me.
Long time ago, and then.
Well,
But,
That's
you know,
fine.
it's funny,
I just
it's
want you to be
funny,
careful.
we want to go overboard to allow pool tables here, but then we want to go throw the baby out with the bathwater.
I'm
and
not
just say,
saying that.
I understand, but you're questioning their ability to be here.
Well, he said it.
I'm simply having a discussion. I mean, you know.
Yeah, I mean,
it's a
he
dialogue.
said, I just want to make sure that they are allowed, and is it in the 25%?
I'm fully aware.
Okay.
Thank you. Joy?
Joy Whitaker, 3347 North Whitney Avenue. I do want to let you know that we're putting this on YouTube. So any meeting I'm at, you can go back and watch and see what's what. So
That should be exciting viewing.
I bet it is, but there is some that is exciting. The meetings are interesting. I've thought that for years because I've been coming for years. But I do want you to know Scott's putting it on YouTube.
Thank you, ma'am. All right, any other citizen comment? Ruth?
I also want to thank Ann for her services. I realize how hard it can be, and you've done a wonderful job over the 8 years, and we really appreciate you coming. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on my left? With that being said, I'll entertain a motion that we recess. We do have executive session for personnel. So does anyone care to make a motion to recess? Anyone makes a motion, is there a second? Second. Discussion. All in favor of the motion, raise your right hand. All opposed, same sign. We stand in recess. Thanks for coming out, folks. Merry Christmas.
For the meeting, just to, see if I can get a handle on it.